A long time ago, on the island of St. Lucia, there lived a man called Charlemagne, named after the king of the Franks, and the first Holy Roman Emperor. Now, Charlemagne had a wife called Mary Jane and 2 children, Francis, who was about 6 at the time of this story, and Georgia, who was about 3. Francis was a boy, Georgia was a girl. And Charlemagne also had a brother, another man from the same island, but living in a different part of the island, called Eustace. And Charlemagne and Eustace were both fishermen. And every day they would take their boat out into the deep sea which surrounds the islands, and they would fish for blue marlin, for tuna, for swordfish, for salt, fin, and all those sort of creatures that live in the sea. And they did quite well. But then Eustace got married, and he, as part of his dowry from his wife's family, got his own small fishing boat. And he moved away from Castries, which was the main port, down to Vaux, and he lived there. And so now Charlemagne fished by himself, and it was hard work. And consequently, he fished longer days. He stayed out longer in the boat. And he knew that if he was going to actually provide for his family on a regular basis, he had to teach his small son, Francis, the skills of a fisherman quite early on. So at the age of 6.5, little Frank went fishing with his dad. And at first it was fun. They would go out and they would go into deep water and they'd drop anchor and they would pole fish for these large fish that would bring money in. And every time they caught a fish, Charlemagne would say, "You know, that's one less bit of laundry your mother has to do." Because his wife used to do laundry just to make the ends meet. Now, Charlemagne was someone who was well respected in his community. He was a deacon in the local church. He read hymns on the Sunday. He had a good singing voice. And he also had a good position in the local council. He was a man of status, a man of some means. Not financially, but certainly spiritually and socially. And he was a good man. But he pushed himself too far. And one day, against all the signs, against all good sensibility, because he needed the money, he decided to put out to sea, even though he knew there was a storm coming. But you see, I'm a good fisherman. I know how to find and how to ride a bad storm, he said to himself. It won't be a problem. So very early in the morning he set off. He didn't take Francis with him because he knew this could be a dangerous trip. But as he travelled out into the waters, and he could see the dark clouds in the distance, and he knew he was going to be in for a bit of a fight until the storm settled, he suddenly saw a rustling under the tarpaulin in his boat. And looking around and going over, pulling back the tarpaulin, who did he find? His little son, Francis. "Lord in heaven, what you doing here, child?" he said. "I want to be with you, Daddy. I want to go fishing with you." Gee. This ain't no trip for a child your age. All right. Making the best of a bad job, he got on with his work. "You can just hold on to that now. You can help me with that. You can do this, you can do that." Try to keep the child occupied. But he knew a storm was coming. And as the day went on and the rain started and the wind started to pick up and the boat started to list and move and started to yaw and dip, he realised he'd brought his son into a dangerous situation. Now, Charlemagne himself was not worried because he knew he could handle it, but having to care for his child at the same time as having to handle the boat was a concern. And as the sea got bigger and he knew he had a fight on his hands, he could think of nothing better than to remove his belt, take his son and tie him to the mast, almost like a young Ulysses or Odysseus, if you prefer the Greek version. And there, little Frank was stuck to the mast, tied tight, whilst his dad tried to use his own bit of cabling to tie himself to the rudder so he could fight into the wind. He dropped the sail, he made him into the storm, thinking, I'll ride this out. The boy will be safe. I'll be okay. But you see, he hadn't thought about the 6-year-old's logic, who wants to be with his dad in a bad situation. So what does little Frank do? He unbuckles the belt that his dad had tied him to the mast with and runs to his father. Lord in heaven, what are you doing, child? Get back there where I put you. I want to be with your daddy. No, child, come back. And he dragged him back to the mast. And he started to tie him back with his belt, this time a lot tighter. You'll get licked if you don't do as you're told, boy. Don't vex me, he said. And as he made his way back along the boat to get back to the rudder, a massive wave hit him, took him off the boat like icy fingers. The last thing little Frank sees is his dad just being grabbed by a wave and taken off the boat. It's the last thing he ever saw of him. Daddy! He screamed into the storm, but the storm was too loud. It took away all his voice. And for 2 days, the Mary Jane, which was the name of the boat, named after his wife, bobbed and yawed, and the little boy hung there, half alive, half dead, dehydrated even though it was surrounded by water. Fortunately, Eustace, who was a man who had a sense of intuition about him, had this feeling he should be over visiting his brother that weekend. And when his brother didn't come back, and he knew the bad weather was out there, he just knew that he had to go out to see if he could find him. So he went to a friend of theirs called Vincent, another fisherman, and he said, look, come with me up to the boat now. Let's go and see if I can find my brother out there. He's in trouble, I know it. And Vincent went, okay. He was a nice guy. So they sailed off, and as the weather calmed, and they sailed out into the sea, into the deep waters around St. Lucia, they saw the little boat, the little Mary Jane bobbing. And as soon as he saw the boat, he thought, sweet Jesus in heaven, where are they? I don't see them on the boat. And as they got close by, there was no sign of Charlemagne. But there was little Frank, tied to the mast, almost half dead. And Eustace leapt from Vincent's boat into the boat where little Frank was tied to the mast. And untying him, he went, Frankie! Frank came round. Daddy, where's my daddy? He says, quick, give me a drink for the boy. And Vincent, being a man of the sea, said, give him some rum. It'll do him good. He says, he's a 6-year-old child. I can't give him rum. Have you got no water? I said, I'll give you the water. So he gave him water. And then he gave him a nip of rum, just to warm him up, because he was cold, he was exhausted. And Eustace brought the Mary Jane back to port with little Frank in there, wrapped up in a piece of canvas. And Vincent came back to port too. No fishing today, I dare say. And when they came back into Castries, everybody knew the news. That Charlemagne, one of the nicest, most respected men in the community, had lost his life. And he was greatly mourned, and he was greatly missed. And Mary Jane, his wife, took in more laundry. And when she was old enough, Georgia took up dressmaking, all to make a bit of money. And Francis, under tuition of Eustace, learned how to become a good fisherman. And when he was 16, he sort of inherited the Mary Jane and would sail out by himself, doing the pole fishing. But you see, an event like that in your life scars you. If you see your father die in front of your eyes, you don't walk away scot-free. And there were days when Frank really couldn't cope with the pressure. The memories drove him mad. He hated the sea, but he lived by the sea. And that brought about a turmoil in him. So we always used to pack a bottle of rum with him when he went out. And there were days when he just didn't fish. He just drank and lay in the boat. And one such day, it was good, calm weather. He sailed out to deep water, dropped anchor, put out a pole with no real intention of catching anything, opened the rum, lay back, and enjoyed the weather. As he he was laying there in the boat, gently swaying, he heard a voice. Francis! What the hell is that? Francis! Sitting up, he looked around. Not a boat in sight. I must have been dreaming. Francis! Who is calling my name? Look over the side of the boat, said the voice. And going to the side of the boat and looking over, he saw a little fish standing proud out the water with its head bobbing. Francis! Now you listen to me, boy. You're wasting your life away. Do you think this is what your father would have wanted for you? Who the hell are you? You're a little fish. How can you talk to me like that? I talk to you like that because I have the right to talk to you like that. You're in my ocean. Do you understand? What are you? As a fish. Are you blind, boy? As a fish. I must have drunk too much rum, Francis said. I must be out of my head. The heat and the pressure has finally got to me now, and it's driving me mad. Francis! What fish? What? I knew your father. I knew your grandfather. And I'm telling you, this is not the life for you. Your mother's back there now. And what is she doing? She's doing a lot of laundry. Your sister, her child, is actually sewing other people's clothes. And what are you doing? You're lying on your back, you lazy creature, drinking rum. Trying to blot out your troubles. Be a man. Grow up. Don't vex this fish. Who are you to me, Francis said. I'm the one who can make sure you make a living from the sea, said the fish. I can lead you to where all the fishes are. All the blue marlin, all the swordfish, all the tuna. You can make a lot of money, boy, but you have to listen to me. And you have to make me one promise, which is the same promise I asked your grandfather and your father to make. Well, what's that? You don't try and catch me in your net, or any of my kind. Okay, deal. And true to his word, the little fish in the water, right, he said, popping his head up again. Follow me. And off he went. And Francis, he didn't know if he was in a fantasy, he didn't know if he'd been drinking too much rum or smoking too much weed, whatever, but he was following the fish. And as he did so, setting sail and going, he found that his boat was just being loaded with the biggest blue marlins and the biggest fish he'd ever seen. And coming back to port, he sold them for an excellent price. And people were going, Frank, how'd you do this, man? You'd suddenly become a fisherman. You became the toast of Catrice. Drinks all round, had a great time. His uncle Eustace was very impressed with his ability and wanted him to join him in some sort of small fleet. But Frank said, no, when I make the money, I'm going to do certain things. The fish told me certain things I had to do. So the first thing he did, being a young man from the Caribbean, bought himself a sharp suit. The second thing he did was he made sure his mother didn't have to do so much laundry. And the third thing he did was he took the sewing machine away from his sister and said, you never have to do that again. And every day he went out, he came back with a massive haul of fish. A great, great, plentiful haul. And the money kept abounding. And one day he was out there and he was sailing and the fish was going ahead. And suddenly the fish stopped in its tracks and turned around and said, Francis. He said, yes, fish. Do you really want to do this for the rest of your life? He says, no. He says, what do you want to do? He says, I want to be a great man. I want to go to somewhere like New York and study theater or become an architect or something. I said, well, take the money and do that. So that's what Frank did. He bought himself a passage to New York. And he arrived in New York just as World War II was declared. Now you've got to put yourself in the mind of someone back at that time. The motherland, the empire, was at war. And although this man came from a sunny island that had no sense of conflict about it, he willingly signed up on the first British ship he came across in New York to go with the convoys. And as a merchant seaman, he experienced cold weather that no Caribbean man should ever have to experience. Ice and snow and wind and rain. He experienced ships blowing up on the horizon, which blinded the crew on his ship. He experienced the fear of never knowing if you're going to see another day. And after doing that for 4 years, he found himself in London, the mother of our parliaments, the source of our light and love. And going around London, coming into East India Docks, he found a small room to lodge in Whitechapel. And he found a job as a stoker in the hospital there, the Whitechapel Hospital, London Hospital. And he worked there, made reasonable money. He made enough for his Uncle Eustace to come across. And together they built a small business. And out of that small business, well, he did intend to bring his mother over, but she died by then. And his sister, she'd managed to do quite well in her studies and was living and happily working in New York. So Frank and Eustace were two men. Frank, a young man by himself. And he would go to dances and he would go in places, but his heart just wouldn't settle. And then one day, the house he was living in, a young lodger arrived. She'd come to seek her fame and fortune from Coventry. And she told him about the Blitz and how it had devastated her city. And they talked. And they talked. And as these things happen, they fell in love. And they married. And they managed to get a little house in Bromley by Bow. And they had 3 children. The first was Paul, Charlemagne, Francis. The second was Anna, Lucia, Teresa. And the third was Darrell, Eugene, Invert. And whenever we asked our father as a child, how did you know these things were going to happen, Dad? He would say, now, you know, some people see a little bird told them. But you know, with me, it was a little